Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to spot consecutive fifths and consecutive eighths, consecutive octaves. So in four-part harmony, one of the big sins you can never do is to have consecutive fifths or consecutive octaves. What does that mean? That means two voices move the same way, being a fifth or an octave apart. So I'll show you. If that doesn't make any sense to you, watch. Okay, I'm going to take the first two chords. I've harmonized everything, and I need to check for consecutives. Watch what I do. Here we go. Soprano moves down a second. The alto steps up a second. The tenor steps up a fourth. And the bass voice steps up a second. Were any two of them the same? Or were any of them the same? Yes. The alto stepped up a second, and the bass voice also stepped up a second. Now that doesn't mean that it's wrong, but what is the interval distance between the bass voice and the alto voice? If they're a fifth or an octave apart, we're in trouble. So let's check. We have an F in the bass and a C in the alto. Now, I know they're a compound interval apart in a different octave, but that doesn't matter. F to C is a fifth, and G to D is a fifth. Okay, so both the alto and the bass voice stepped up a second, and they're a fifth apart. That is consecutive fifths. Got the idea? All right, let's try the next combination. You do each combination, right? Okay, soprano down a second, alto stays the same, tenor steps down a fourth, and the bass steps up a fifth. Now watch that, because the tenor went down a fourth and the bass went up a fifth. So technically, they are in a consecutive relationship, but they're a third apart. So we'll just ignore that. All right, let's check the next one. All right, we can do the next combination of chords. So soprano steps up a fourth, the alto just stays the same. The tenor steps up a fourth, ooh, and the bass voice steps down a third. So both the soprano stepped up a fourth and the tenor stepped up a fourth. All right, so we have an issue here between the tenor voice and the alto voice. Now, what is the interval distance between them? So it doesn't matter that they stepped the same way, it's what interval they are determines whether it's right or wrong. Okay, the tenor is an F and the soprano is an F. Well, wait a minute, that's an octave. Uh-oh, we're in big trouble. So we have the soprano stepping from F to B flat and the tenor steps from F to B flat. We have consecutive octaves, okay? So that's not allowed. All right, let's have a look here, just so that you start to see, because you can learn to do it really quickly, and you just have to step through every combination of chord and check if any two voices move the same way. You ready? Here we go. Okay, soprano down a second. Alto moves down a third. Here we have the tenor stepping up a second, and we have the bass voice stepping down a second. Okay, now, did any two voices move the same way? Let's see. Down a second, down a third, up a second, down a second. Yes, two of the voices moved the same way. So let's check. So the soprano moved down a second and the bass moved down a second. So what is the interval distance between the bass voice and the soprano? Well, we have A up to C. So that's a third. And yes, I know it's a compound third, but that doesn't matter. A to C is a third, and G to B flat is a third, so that's okay. Yes, they are consecutives, but they're consecutive thirds, and that's okay. It's only consecutive fifths and consecutive eighths. Actually, I did miss one because I deliberately put some baddies in here so that I'd be able to show you. Watch this. Let's take these two here. So soprano goes up a second. The alto steps up a third, and the tenor steps up a second, and then the bass steps down a second. So were any two of them the same? Yes. The soprano stepped up a second, and the tenor stepped up a second, and wouldn't you know, B flat to B flat, they're an octave apart. So that is consecutive octaves. All right. So you just have to work through the harmony, each combination, check how they stepped, and if any two voices step the same way, check the interval distance, and then you will never get caught with consecutive fifths or octaves. It's that simple. Make sure you do it systematically, stepping through each chord combination, and you'll never have a problem.